Today on the DCiReporter, DC joins other states in a march in support of teenager killed in Ferguson, Missouri. We'll see who's running to fill 2 at-large seats on the DC Council. The end of summer brings all the festival. Today we'll learn all about the Taste of Georgetown. DC statehood has its day in the U.S. Senate. And in our Places and People segment, we heard a message from Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee on Hispanic Heritage Month. This is the DCiReporter. Welcome to the DCiReporter. My name is Franklin Garcia. You can watch us online at dctv.org or DCiReporter.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at DCiReporter. DC takes to the streets to march in support of gunned-down teenager in Ferguson, Missouri to address police brutality. On August 9th, 18-year-old Michael Brown was shot and killed in Ferguson, Missouri. Brown, a young black man, was shot by Darren Wilson, a white police officer. Brown was unarmed at the time of the shooting, and his death sparked protests throughout the nation. In Washington, D.C., people organized a rally and took to the streets calling for justice for Michael Brown.
My name is Anise Jenkins, and I'm here today at Union Station to join in solidarity with the rally here for Ferguson. And this is for justice for Mike Brown, who was unjustly murdered in Ferguson, Missouri. He was a young man who had a future before him, and now he's a young man who will symbolize the fact that we are still in the struggle for equality, for racial justice, and this is a young group. I am so excited because they have so many young people who are here who have direct commitment to ending racial oppression and ending the killing of young black men.
Many are using this opportunity to bring awareness about police brutality.
But the only way we can assure that the death of Mike Brown is not for nothing, and quite frankly, that the deaths of those who have died at the hands of the police for years is not for nothing, is to make sure we have a sustained movement to stop police terrorism. And that's what I'm calling it, is police terrorism.
Many moons ago, a young white man walks into a movie theater. He murders 12 people, shoots about 50, 60 more, exit the movie theater at night into a parking lot, but somehow the police are able to apprehend him without firing a single shot. But yet, we have dozens of cases of unarmed and innocent black men who are murdered in broad daylight.
We have to call for real community policing. You want to sit on my corner, you got to move in my community. Bottom line, because if he live next door to you, he going to treat you differently than he do if he live anywhere else.
The rally and march were organized by the National Black United Fund and other groups. Shortly after the rally, organizers marched the streets of Washington, D.C. chanting, "Hands up, don't shoot," throughout the march.
Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot!
The marchers took to the streets blocking traffic and stopping at major intersections throughout the march. They hoped to gain some attention for the cause, but also bring attention to other police-related issues.
Now we are adjacent to the Trinidad neighborhood. The Trinidad neighborhood of Washington, D.C. Now, it was the Metropolitan Police Department that some years back decided that they wanted to put up military-style checkpoints in Trinidad. They said they wanted to do it because people from outside the neighborhood were coming in to kill folks. Not only did they not catch the guy coming from outside, he lived in the neighborhood. So their entire strategy of criminalizing a whole neighborhood was based on lies.
As the November general election approaches, many want to hear from the candidates running for office. DC for Democracy hosted an at-large DC Council Candidates Forum where 7 of the candidates attended. The D.C. Council, the legislative body of the District of Columbia, is made up of 13 members. On November 4th, D.C. voters will have the option to elect 2 at-large members of that body. The D.C. Board of Elections has certified 15 candidates to run for these 2 positions. At a recent forum hosted by the nonpartisan group D.C. for Democracy, 7 of the most likely candidates to get elected showed up to discuss their vision.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric J. Jones. I am a native Washingtonian, born and raised in Washington, D.C. Have lived in Ward 5 my entire life, family rooted from River Terrace. Have an undergraduate degree in marketing from Morehouse College, Master's of Science in Finance, and for the last 7 years, I have had the honor of doing government affairs here in the city, working with the city council and with the last 2 mayors and the last 3 city councils, working on policy and legislation here in the city.
Yes, good evening. My name is Eugene Courier. I'm resident of Ward 8. For the time I've been living here in Washington, D.C., I think we've seen a lot of growth and not a lot of development, and I've pretty much spent all my time here working for those who got the short end of that stick. I've been the co-founder of the Jobs Not Jails Coalition, working with our returning citizens and fighting discrimination. I've been a member of the Peacemakers, Not Peacebreakers movement. We're working with communities east of the river to stop violence. I'm working currently right now with the several tenant associations, helping them fight against displacement. I've worked in schools to help people's PEPCO rates stay low. Ultimately, all I've really done for my time in the District of Columbia is try to make sure that people have an equitable chance. I've been able to interact with the government at multiple different levels, and I've seen its dysfunction, its aloofness, and quite frankly, its inadequacy for many of those who are lowest on the totem pole. And I'm looking to bring that experience and that desire and drive to the council.
Good evening. I'm Alyssa Silverman, and I'm running for this seat because I want to bring social justice to the council. I think this is an election not just about where you stand on the issues, but where you've stood. I've stood with many of you when the Housing Production Trust Fund was cut, and I worked with many of you to restore that money with my work with the DC Fiscal Policy Institute. Last year I came before you and said I think we need paid sick days for restaurant workers so that when someone who works for a restaurant gets sick or their child gets sick, they can take a day off without repercussions. I stood with you then, we got it passed. A higher minimum wage. I stood with many of you because I feel in our city if you work full time, you shouldn't live in poverty. And we got it done. Thank you.
Courtney Stoughton.
Good evening. My name is Courtney Stoughton. I'm a 6th-generation Washingtonian. I grew up in Shepherd Park and made the choice to move over east of the river in Ward 7 in an economically depressed community called Deepwood. I am the mother of the most perfect 5-year-old, Malik, who I want DC to be better for. I grew up in an amazing city. I went to amazing public schools, and I want my baby to have exactly the same thing, but I want yours to have it as well. So I'm running for DC Council to do just that, to ensure that we improve public education, to ensure that economic development happens with us and not to us, and importantly to ensure that job training programs actually do what they're supposed to do, and that is put people in jobs that pay enough for them to live in this wonderful city. So I'm honored to be here with you tonight. I'm honored to participate in this debate with everyone up here and with you as well. And what I want you to walk away remembering that above everything, I am a mother first.
Robert White.
Good evening. I hope there's some actual undecided voters here. But those who don't know, I'm Robert White. My personal background is one of a native Washingtonian. I've grown up in this city in a working class family. And that is a personal experience and a passion that I bring to everything I do in this city. Professionally, I'm an attorney, and I worked for Congresswoman for many years as her legislative counsel, addressing all kinds of public policy issues that face our city day in and day out. So I feel very ready to join the council and hit the ground running, and I filter everything through my family, so you can rest assured that you have a champion on the council.
My name is Colin Pitts. I'm a labor organizer. I'm a small business owner. More importantly, as Courtney said, I'm a family man. I've got 2 young kids. My wife is sitting right here in the audience. I'm running for DC because I want to make this city better for everyone. As this city grows and prospers, I want to ensure that we all grow and prosper with it. I've invested in the city because this is my community. I've invested in the city when I worked in the DC jails, trying to improve public health care. I've invested in the city when I've worked in the schools to reduce teenage pregnancy. I've invested in the city when, as right now, I'm serving on the executive board of the DC Health Exchange and helped construct the laws here, that now 50,000 people have health care who wouldn't have had it before. I've invested in the city because I love the city.
Well, good evening. I'm Braylon Hagler. I've been the pastor of Plymouth Congregational United Church of Christ here in Washington, D.C. since 1992, so 23 years of history. But not only history of pastoring in the community, but history in terms of organizing in the community. You can look across the street from the church where we took on the Exxon Corporation in 1993, who was trying to build a super gas station, and instead we fought them to a standstill, and today there's 69 units of subsidized senior housing on that corner instead of a super gas station, which was Exxon and wanted. Also, in terms of the history, when we look around Washington, D.C. today, we do not see payday lenders. We do not see payday lenders because we took them on and fought them in the streets to make them toxic. They were charging people 3,000% interest, 1,000% interest. They were ripping money out of the community, and people were not paying attention. And every time the city council turned around, they would exempt the payday lenders from anti-predatory lending legislation. That's what I'm running for, is to stop the pay-to-pay culture that has gripped the Wilson building, and to demand that there's accountability and that citizens of the District of Columbia are heard and respected, and not just the lobbyists and business interests.
No independent polls have been conducted to show the likely candidates to join the DC Council next year, though some campaigns have put out numbers favoring their candidates. One of the seats is all but certain to go to the at-large Democratic nominee, Anita Bunds, that competed and won the Democratic primary on April 1st. For more than 20 years, the Taste of Georgetown groups top city restaurants in one location. Celebrating 21 years, the Taste of Georgetown gives patrons the opportunity to savor foods from more than 35 restaurants from Georgetown. This year, for the first time, the festival was moved from Wisconsin Avenue to K Street Northwest along the scenic Georgetown waterfront.
Well, the Taste of Georgetown has happened for 21 years. We are benefiting the Georgetown Ministry Center, which is the homeless social services center in Georgetown. We have 33 restaurants or more here today. I'm not sure the actual number, but they are all Georgetown restaurants or very close to Georgetown, and they are selling their tastes from their menu for $5 a taste of food. We also have a wine and beer pavilion where people buy separate tickets at different price, slightly less, for tastes of craft beers and wine. We give all the money that is net to the Georgetown Ministry Center, which is a crucial effort here in Georgetown to help the homeless.
The Taste of Georgetown offers the opportunity to sample more than 70 dishes from more than 25 popular Georgetown dining spots. In addition to fine culinary delights, attendees can also check out vendors that display their goods and services mainly to the Georgetown community, but some citywide.
Hi, Washingtonian Magazine is a proud media sponsor for this event. We are showcasing our, what issue is this? September issue. We're also giving away some discounted tickets to our food truck festival event, and we're selling these t-shirts for $10. And that's all.
The long-standing event in Georgetown is hosted by the Georgetown Business District, or Georgetown BID, and benefits the Georgetown Ministry Center's services supporting the homeless. The event began more than 20 years ago. After decades waiting, D.C. is finally the subject of a hearing in the U.S. Senate. For the first time in 2 decades, the U.S. Senate held a hearing on whether to allow the District of Columbia to become a state. The hearing was held in the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, chaired by Senator Thomas Carper, a Democrat from Delaware. In his statement, Senator Carper said that D.C.'s lack of representation in Congress is unfair and noted that the United Nations had deemed it a human rights violation. Many D.C. elected officials, including D.C. Mayor Vincent Gray and D.C. delegate to the U.S. Congress Eleanor Holmes Norton, attended the hearing. And even though many understood that it is unlikely that this hearing will lead to D.C. becoming a state, they recognized the value of the hearing.
Today's hearing is a milestone. So many Americans, more than 73% of Americans, have no idea that district residents are disenfranchised and have no political power in the U.S. House of Representatives or the U.S. Senate. So today, for the Senate to debate this issue, equal rights for D.C., is monumental. So next steps is for us to continue this fight. It's not over after today. It's really important for all of us to continue to band together, to educate members of Congress, get additional co-signers on the current bill and any future bills, and we just shouldn't stop. We shouldn't rest until we've won our political rights back and we've restored the equality that D.C. and the generations of residents who live here deserve, the equal rights that they deserve as full citizens.
This is a great turning point for D.C. statehood. Finally, the Congress has held hearings on statehood for D.C. We had a great turnout. We had great roundtable there with the mayor, the chairman of the city council, and other dignitaries and leaders were there. We had over 350 people that were there at the hearings. They had to give us about 3 or 4 different rooms. So the movement has more traction in it. The American people are aware of our plight. Over 60% in a survey that was done approve of statehood for D.C. I think it's time, to get more American people engaged in this, and as well the citizens of the District of Columbia engaged in this. This is an important issue, not only for us in this city, but for this country.
D.C. has over 650,000 residents and no representation in the United States Congress, save for a non-voting delegate. Many hope this hearing brings much-needed visibility for the fight to have D.C. become the 51st state. Hispanic or Latino Heritage Month is celebrated from September 15th to October 15th. This is a special time when Latinos in the United States celebrate their contributions to America. It is also a time when Latinos showcase their culture and heritage. We're now going to hear a short message from Texas Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee on Hispanic Heritage Month.
Just as I did a couple of days ago in Houston, as my friends walked in downtown Houston to make a statement for dignity and respect and the acceptance as individuals who love this country. And so when I think of this month, Hispanic Heritage, and I think of the passion and the courage of so many fighting for comprehensive immigration reform, I ask the question, or I answer the question, we too are America. America is a very diverse nation, and its benefits come from the fact that it has a range of diversity that immigrants have been able to bring to this nation for more than a century. And it is the Statute of Liberty that exemplifies the story today. Comprehensive immigration reform is the new civil rights movement, but it is embraced by all of us who've walked the journey of the Black student movement, the civil rights movement, the women's movement, the peace movement. It was all about empowering people. It is time for this Congress to listen to these voices, to listen to my wonderful, bright, energetic dreamers who I see all the time in my district, that they simply want to serve the nation. And yes, we must listen to the bright heroes and sheroes that put on a uniform in the United States military, who say very loudly, not by words but by deeds, we too are America. So, as we travel the journey as African Americans through our civil rights movement, but more importantly through the history as we came to this country, the Native American who was already here, and many, many other diverse groups, we join with our brothers and our sisters, and we understand and we believe that we can make America get better, greater, if we come together and believe in the partnership between Cesar Chavez and Martin Luther King. Cesar Paredes, yes, we can. We shall overcome. That is what we are looking to do, and we will have comprehensive immigration reform. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you for watching us. Remember, you can watch us online at dctb.org or DCiReporter.com, or follow us on Twitter at DCiReporter. I'm Franklin Garcia, and I will see you next time on the DCiReporter.